We're live. So welcome everyone to the weekly Yoga Biz coaching session with me, Kelly McHugh. I'm the founder of Digital Yoga Academy. So welcome everyone to this coaching session. If you're watching on Instagram or on Facebook, on the Digital Yoga Academy Facebook page, or in our group, in our private group on Facebook, I can see people are starting to join across all three of these platforms. So do say hello once you've joined. Let me know where you're joining from, where you're watching from. We have yoga teachers in our community from all over the world. So I love to read where you're joining from. And as I said, this is our weekly live yoga business coaching session. So I'm live every week to talk about a different topic, and the topic this week is really around your yoga brand and how to be authentic, how to find your authentic self and really put yourself across authentically online, and to let your personality shine through as well. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And the reason I've decided on this particular topic is that I do a lot of research online with yoga teachers, and it comes up time and time again that teachers are really struggling to put themselves across authentically online. They're really struggling to find that balance between, you know, showing who they are as a person, really showing themselves, and finding the balance between that and actually promoting what they do as well, and not coming across salesy. Okay, so this is what we're talking about today, and I'm quite excited about it because it's a process that I've also had to go through myself. And I'm going to share with you some mindset blocks, some shifts that you need to make, but also some tips to start putting yourself across authentically as well. So hey, so on Instagram we've got Namaste and Love. I love that. That's from Germany. Hello. And then we've got Jenny from London on Facebook. Yeah, keep typing in where you're joining me from, guys. I love to see you joining me. Okay, so we will begin. So we're talking about authenticity and shining your personality online so that you can really resonate with your ideal students and with your community online. So I want to start by saying that you are unique, okay? You're unique, but do you know in what way? Okay, do you know in what way that you're unique? Now, as a yoga teacher, you obviously want to build your community online, and you have to constantly put yourself out there and be visible online. So your students are hanging out in all of these different places online, and for you to be able to build your community, you need to be in those places that they're hanging out. So whether that's on Facebook or Instagram or live on Instagram or using stories, wherever it is that they are, you need to be there as well. So you're creating all of this content. You're creating content to put on social media, and maybe you're doing videos as well. So you're recording videos to share on Instagram and YouTube. You're sending out your email newsletters every week. And, you know, you might be writing blog posts as well for your website. And when you do these things, you know, when you're being visible in your business, you're either showing up as you and being you, totally authentic, or you've not quite found your voice yet and you're showing up as someone else. So perhaps, you know, that might be another teacher that you aspire to. Maybe you're kind of impersonating someone else, not meaning to, but maybe that's just what you're doing because you're just starting out and you're still kind of finding your way. And I guess that's the issue, because when you are starting out, this second way of kind of showing up as someone else, it can tend to be a little bit of a default, okay, until you can find your own voice. So I want you to ask yourself right now, how are you showing up right now? When you're putting yourself out there, are you being authentically you? And so ask yourself that question. And then I want you to be really, really clear on something. And if you've got a pen and paper, I want you to write this down. I want you to understand that there is no yoga teacher that is for everyone. Okay, write that down. There is no yoga teacher that is for everyone. And you just can't, and you shouldn't even try to be everything to everyone. Okay, because when you do that, what you're doing is you're watering yourself down. You're watering down all of the things that are wonderful and unique about you. Okay, so when you get into this mindset that you have to show up a certain way, or you have to talk a certain way, or you have to be a certain way on video, what you do is you lose the special uniqueness about you. Okay, all those things that are unique about you and wonderful about you, you lose those things because you're trying to be something else or someone else. Does that make sense, guys? Let me know if that makes sense. Give me some feedback as we're going along today's training. So I want you to really kind of get that into your head. You know, there is no yoga teacher that's for everyone. You just need to be you. Okay, and when we are just starting out, we do tend to water ourselves down. So I want you to be showing up as you, okay, because you're unique. Your message of yoga is unique. You have something amazing to share with a community of, you know, students that are going to connect and they're going to resonate with your message and how you share it. Okay, so quite often it's simply mindset blocks and how you overcome them. How you overcome them so that everything that you put out there shows the real you. Okay, so it's sometimes just a mindset block. So why is it really important to kind of move or to kind of break through these blocks? Why do you want to show up authentically as you? What's the whole reason about being you and being authentic when you show up? Well, being a yoga teacher, you also have to be a marketer. Okay, you also have to be a marketer. You're always marketing your yoga business and you want your personality to shine through everything that you create and put out there online. But as far as the reasons why you want your personality to shine through your marketing and communications, well, it's all about putting personality into your business and into your brand. Okay, so just think about the brands that you follow online. You know, they all have quite unique personalities. When you start to really look at them and their tone of voice and how they put themselves across, you know, lots of different brands, all brands have their own unique personality, and it's exactly the same for you, because essentially, you know, you as a yoga teacher, you're the face of your brand, you're the face of your business. And rather than, you know, just find a voice for your yoga brand, you should make your voice and your personality the brand. Okay, the brand is your personality, and that's the one thing that you have a monopoly on, because there's lots of different teachers out there. There's lots of yoga teachers out there. It's quite a crowded space, which is a good thing. There's more of us to share yoga. But when people want it from you, when your students want what you've got, then you have the ultimate edge, because they want it from you. Okay, they know you. And that's why there's a real benefit of putting your personality into your business, because it lets people know you, it lets people like you, and it lets people trust you. Does everyone understand where I'm coming from? I'm just going to check in on the, hey guys, for everyone who's joining me on Facebook, nice to see you here. Yay! Loving the comments. Keep them coming. So thank you guys for joining me. So this is the reason why this is so important. So I'm going to talk you through 3 mindset blocks, and as I talk you through them, I just want you to see whether some of these things resonate with you and whether you think this is kind of what's going on in your mind. Okay, so mindset block number 1. Okay, so I want to talk to you about my personal story. So coming from a corporate marketing background, I had to move some of these mindset blocks in order to sort of transition from my very corporate way of communicating, where the copy was, you know, really polished and everything was very professional, to something more real and to something more me. Okay, so if you've also come from a corporate job or an office job, then this might be one of the biggest mindset shifts that you also have to make, and it's actually the fear of looking unprofessional. Okay, and if you're on my email list and you received my email yesterday, then I talked about my personal story. I talked about this in my email. I told you about the things that I had to do when I worked at, for an airport group here in the UK. And I managed a transport forum with about 100 people that used to come to this transport forum every month. And I'd have to stand up, and I basically was like the chair of this forum. And most of the people there were men, all in suits. And I would have to share the strategies, the communication strategies for the airport. And I was very professional, okay? So it was kind of drilled into me that that's how I had to be taken seriously. You know, I had to speak in a very polished, formal, business-like, professional language. And this was all through my 20s and in various other jobs as well, and into my 30s as well. So it wasn't really until I got into the startup world a few years ago, and I spent a couple of years in startups, that, you know, it was a bit more of a relaxed environment, very different environment. But I had to make mindset shifts then to adapt to that environment. And part of that meant adapting how I communicated. And particularly for me, I was creating marketing communications, how I put those communications out there. So it's really important to just have a look at what your background is, and is there anything that's been kind of drilled into you from your work life and the environments that you've been working in for years, and you know, how does that affect you now in how you communicate what you offer as a yoga teacher? Does that make sense, guys? Let me know if that makes sense to you, and whether you can relate to that from your kind of previous work lives. So I think it's also quite interesting, or it's also quite worthy to note that generally communication style over the more recently has changed, you know, with social media and technology. And, you know, you'll see from the brands that you follow on social that the way they communicate has very much changed now. It's kind of moved away from that very formal business-like tone to a more conversational tone, especially on social, and the way brands communicate with their audiences on social. So have a think about some of the brands that you follow. Maybe go and check them out. Just look at their tone of voice, look and see how it's become more conversational. I think conversational, it really is the new professional. So we have to move with these changes and not be afraid of putting people off, and with the way that we speak online. And this actually moves me on to mindset shift number 2, which is about putting people off. Okay, so quite often you can be afraid to put the real you out there because you're afraid of turning people off, or you're afraid of alienating people. You know, maybe you love a burger but you don't want to share that because you're afraid of alienating vegans. So, but you know, it doesn't matter. You just need to put you across and not be afraid to put you across, okay? Because remember what I said earlier, you can't be the yoga teacher for everyone. You really can't. And when you try to be the yoga teacher for everyone, you water you down. What you want to do is put you out there, not be afraid to put you out there, okay? So have a think about that. Have a think about whether you are a little bit scared to put yourself out there because you're afraid of turning people off. You know, you just need to give it up, because there really is absolutely no yoga teacher out there for everyone. So trying to appeal to everyone is actually how you end up blending into the woodwork and being for no one. So does that one resonate with you? Do you feel like that might be happening for you at the moment? Okay, let's move on to number 3, mindset block number 3. Okay, so another kind of myth that you might have is that you just think that you don't have a specific personality that's strong enough or unique enough to share online. So perhaps, you know, you might resonate with your yoga teacher. Maybe there's some yoga teachers that you follow and that you really resonate with, and therefore you want to sound like them because you think that their personality is what you need to be able to share yourself online. Okay, so we all follow our own teachers. Okay, we all follow our own teachers, and you know, especially if you're just starting out, it can be easy to start to sound a little bit like them. And I think this is quite an innocent thing, especially when we admire someone else. You know, we follow them all the time on social, and we kind of hear them in our ear, and we think, oh, you know, this is what I need to be doing. This is how I need to be. And really, the answer is that you need to just be with your own voice. Okay, you need to be conscious of the expressions that you're using versus the expressions that somebody else uses, and just your tone of voice. So have a think about that. Do you think maybe you could be carrying somebody else's expressions across maybe your emails that you're writing, or the way you write your blog posts? And, you know, are you kind of thinking in your head that you have to be this specific kind of personality? Okay, because I would really challenge that, because I'm sure that people don't find you boring in real life. I'm sure that you've got a personality that you can shine through. Okay, I'm sure all your friends love you, and I'm sure that the students that turn up to your classes week in, week out, I'm sure they all love you too. And the reason for this is because you've got personality, and you just need to share it. Just need to share that personality as your business. Okay, you just need to share what you're interested in, share what makes you happy, share what makes you mad, what you want in life, you know, your journey to achieving what you want, and the journey that you've had with yoga, the frustrations that you've had along the way. All of those things you can share, and all of those things are part of your personality. Okay, so they're the things that make you unboring. So have a think about that. Have you got this little myth in your head, or little kind of block that's telling you that you have to be a certain way, and that you can't be you, because maybe you think you're boring and you don't have enough to share? Because it really is a limiting belief, and it's definitely not true. Okay, so they are three mindset kind of blocks that might be holding you back, that you might identify with. Have you guys identified with any of those? So we had, what did we have? We had number one, which is the fear of looking unprofessional. Give me a number one in the comments if that's you. Or maybe number two was being afraid of turning people off, okay, because you're trying to be everything to everyone. And then number three is believing that you don't have the right personality, or that you've not got enough sass to get out there and shine your personality online. So let me know, which one do you resonate with? Are any of these kind of, you know, maybe there's something that's kind of going on for you? Let me know in the comments if any of those ring true. And so what was I going to say next? So basically, so we've got these mindset shifts that you need to kind of recognize if any of those are holding you back, and why, you know, you're not able to kind of put yourself out there. So some of you are saying 1, 2, and 3. That's okay. They're very much linked. I think they're very much linked. So yeah, 1, 2, 1, and a mix of 2 and 3. Yeah, I think so. I think we all have these to begin with, and it's totally fine. It's just recognizing it, right? It's recognizing it and sort of seeing that there is another way, and and really understanding that you know, your personality is letting your personality shine through is really, really powerful. Okay, when you understand how powerful it is, then you can slowly start to move your mindset so that you start to share it more authentically. And one of the things I'll say here is that especially when you're kind of writing copy, or you're like sending an email out, or you're, you know, writing a blog post or whatever it might be, is that not everything that you share has to be teachable. So again, if you read my email that I sent out yesterday, you know, I started off by sharing my story, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute, but not everything has to be teachable. So it doesn't have to be, you know, 5 tips for a daily meditation practice and that's it, and that's all you share. You can always share a piece of you and your story as to how it relates to how you found your daily meditation practice. because that's actually really valuable, you sharing your story and how it relates to the content that you're going to be sharing. So maybe, you might be talking about your struggle with a daily meditation practice, and then you lead into your 5 tips. Does that make sense? So you share your story, it helps people to connect with you, helps people to resonate, and it's actually very valuable to share that, because when you make people, or when you make your reader feel a certain way by the content that you're sharing with them, or the story that you're sharing with them, then it actually makes them want to learn a bit more about you. It makes them want to learn more about you. And when they feel that way, that's when your teaching, like your 5 tips, that's when your teaching sticks even more, because now they're connected to you and they're more open to what you're teaching and to what you're offering, because you've made it more relatable. Okay, so maybe you're a private person, and you kind of feel a little bit uncomfortable sharing your story, or you're afraid to reveal too much. Does that resonate with anybody? Does anyone feel like that's them, that you're just a bit, you hold back on sharing your personal story because you're just a little bit afraid of it? Well, first of all, you don't have to reveal everything about yourself in order to put yourself out there and share, okay, and be yourself. You don't have to expose everything. There's nothing wrong with maintaining some privacy, okay? You don't have to share about your real-time meltdowns, and I don't recommend that you do that. You probably shouldn't. But you can share elements of these things. And I would say that there's a lot to be gained by talking about the things that make you human, okay? So talking about the things that you've struggled with or in the past, and how yoga has now helped you with that thing. Yeah, so you kind of pull it back round to share how you had this struggle, but now you did this, and now you've worked through that struggle, you've overcome it. Or, sharing the things that embarrass you, or, that have held you back. And how yoga has helped you on that journey. There's a lot to be gained by doing that. So you should really think about these stories that you can share, and how you've overcome your challenges and struggles along the way. Okay, because that is really powerful. So don't underestimate it. And when you share your personal stories, these are the stories that you know best, okay? Because they've happened to you. So you know them, you know these stories. And by sharing them, it actually makes you a better storyteller, because you're sharing something that's from the heart. You're not sharing someone else's story, you're sharing your story. But sometimes, it just takes a little bit of practice. So I encourage all of you today to have a think about this. Have a think about a struggle that your students that have been coming to your class, maybe from some conversations that you've been having, have a think about a struggle a common struggle that your students are having, and can you tell a story around that? Because maybe a few years ago you also had that same struggle, and how did you overcome it? How did you overcome that struggle through your yoga practice? So have a think about an example. And then that could give you, something to create around your content. So you could, whatever tips that you had or the solution that you found, you could create a blog post around that. And then you could send it out to your email list, and you could lead into your blog post by talking about your personal struggle and how you overcame it. And hey guys, this is the bit of content that I've created for you, because if you've got this same struggle, I want to help you. Okay, does that make sense? So everyone have a think about that as a little challenge for you to take away from today's coaching session. Okay. Okay, so we've talked about why it's important to be authentic and to use your own voice, and we've also discussed some mindset shifts that you might need to make, and why it's so powerful to let your personality shine through, so that you can connect and resonate with your people. Remember, they're your people, because you can't be everything to everyone. But maybe you're thinking, well, I don't really know what makes me different and or unique, and it's therefore really hard for me to authentically show up online, okay? Because I don't really know my personality, or I don't know what makes me unique. So there's a few things that you can do, okay? So first of all, if this is you, I want you to ask your friends, okay? I want you to ask your friends, what is their favorite thing about you? Maybe ask them to sum you up in 3 words. You could even put this on Facebook as a little kind of challenge, and just ask them if they can provide you with 3 words to sum you up, okay? And then collect all of those words that people have said about you, and just look at them all, and just select the ones that you feel most proud about, or the ones that you think, yeah, this feels like me. Because sometimes it's just the people that know you. You just need them to kind of point it out to you, what makes you unique and what's special about you and what they love about you. Okay, so so look at all their responses, and then write down the ones that resonate the most with you. And then you could also try out some online personality tests. Okay, there's lots out there. You just need to get on Google free personality tests. There's the Myers-Briggs, which you may have heard of. There's also one called the Fascinate test, which is also quite good. So that's a good one to discover what makes you uniquely fascinating. I mean, there's even your horoscope and your star sign. You know, just have a look at all of these things, and have a go at some of them. Just have a play around with some of them, because the results, you know, some things you'll agree with will kind of ring true for you. Some things you'll think, no, that doesn't feel like me at all. Some things might surprise you. But generally, they're just great conversation starters for yourself. Yeah. So, you know, they can kind of open up the floodgates for you, and you start to realize that there are lots of different sides to you, and these are different sides to you that you can talk about and that you can share, and people will connect with. Okay, so do that. I really encourage you to do that, guys, to have a little play around with this, and start kind of injecting some of these results into your conversations online, and asking people questions and so on. So see what you can get out of that. Okay. I'll share some of the links to these actually on the Facebook page and in the Facebook group. So if you're watching on Instagram and you want the links, just hop over to Facebook in a little while and you'll find the links to these personality tests there. Okay. Okay, so now the final part of today's kind of coaching call is to just touch on a few tips to help you to physically inject this personality into what you're sharing online. Okay, so I've touched on some of these a little bit already, but the tip number 1 is to use stories. Okay, so I've kind of talked about this a little bit already, but people, you know, if you use a story to kind of introduce something, you know, maybe it's a new blog post, but you're going to use like a personal story to lead people into it. You really should know that people connect with these stories. So rather than just saying, hey guys, this is my new blog post that I've just created, people will connect more with your story if you tell your story first. And it doesn't have to be, you know, a really long story with a middle, beginning and end. It can just be an element. It can just be a slice of a story that kind of relates and transitions people into the main thing that you're going to be sharing with them, okay, which is likely to be around yoga. Okay, so actually, I'll give you an example. It's something that I did very recently. And if you go onto the Good Yoga Life UK Instagram account, I shared a video, and it's actually a video of me surfing. And at the moment, I'm pushing my Sri Lanka retreat. It's a yoga and surfing retreat next year. So I'm pushing that. And part of this is that I want people to know that you can try surfing at any age. Okay, so that might be an objection that people might have to coming on my retreat. They might think, well, I can't surf, so I'm not going to go there. So I wanted to share a story around this, and I shared a story of a man that I actually met when I was out there in April. So I went out there to organise the retreat, and I met this man. I met him in the waves when I was surfing. I was surfing every day because I'm completely obsessed with surfing. And I'd see him in the morning, and I'd see him in the evening, and you kind of sat on your board and stuff. There's people all around you waiting for the waves, and we got chatting, and I'd see him every day. So we were chatting every day, and he's actually in his late 60s, and he'd been in Sri Lanka since the beginning of the year, since January. And actually, I was out there in January as well, and I remembered him, and I kind of think that's probably why we started talking, because I did recognise him from my trip earlier on in the year. And he's an American guy, and he basically had only started surfing that year when he arrived in Sri Lanka in January, and he loved it so much that he couldn't pull himself to leave. He couldn't pull himself away from Sri Lanka. So he was still there in Sri Lanka surfing every single day. But he completely fell in love with the waves, and he fell in love with Sri Lanka. And yeah, it was just really nice. Like, we shared a coconut together on the beach and one morning, and a really, really nice guy. But I used that story to kind of share with people, to get that message across, that you can try surfing. You can learn to surf at any age. It really doesn't matter. Age is just a number. It shouldn't hold you back, and it's never too late to learn something new. So that's how I kind of led people in. And you can do things like this too. It's just having a little think a bit deeper about what you can share personally. Maybe it's just a little snippet of an experience with someone, or a conversation that you've had that you can add to your social media content or to your emails and so on. So obviously that story then led into the promotion of my retreats. And go and take a look. Go to Good Yoga Life UK on Instagram and just go and have a look at that, and watch the video of me surfing as well. Okay, so just to note that the story doesn't have to have a beginning, middle, end. It can just be an element. It can just be a slice, a little sprinkle to lead people into whatever it is that you want to promote. Okay, so tip number 2 for shining your personality online is to give everything a point of view. Okay, because a huge part of your personality actually comes from your point of view and how you see the world. So I'd say a good example of this, or maybe it's not a good example, but an example of this is the green smoothie post on Instagram. Okay, hands up if you've ever posted a picture of a green smoothie. People post pictures of their green smoothies on Instagram day in, day out, but what makes it unique is your point of view. Okay, so don't just post your picture and hashtag green smoothie. Take the extra time to tell us what that smoothie means to you. Okay, so maybe you're telling people that you religiously drink your green smoothie, and you're listing out all of the benefits and how it makes you feel. Or perhaps you're telling people it's a total scam and it's full of sugar, and there's better ways to be healthy, and these are those better ways. What is your point of view? Because both of those points of view are completely different, and they're going to come from 2 different personalities. Okay, so find your point of view. It doesn't have to be complicated. It can be as simple as that, and just don't be afraid to share it. Okay, because it doesn't matter if some of your followers don't agree with you. It doesn't matter. Remember what I said earlier on, is that you can't be everything to everyone. Yeah, you have to be, you're just you, and you'll be the yoga teacher for some people, and they're the people that matter. Okay, so it really does go back to not being afraid of turning people off, because really they're not the people that you're trying to attract if you're turning them off. Okay, so my final tip for being authentic and letting your personality shine through is to use plain English. Okay, so you want your language, you want to relax your language, and I've talked about this a little bit, but you want to use relaxed language. You want to keep it conversational. Just plain spoken words work best. Use the apostrophe. Use an apostrophe. So instead of saying you are, you'll use your, yeah, your. So add an apostrophe in there. Or think about your website and the copy on your website. So this is quite often really applicable to your website and the about page. Okay, so your about page might say something like, hello, I am so happy that you are here. I am going to teach you XYZ. So it sounds really robotic. So instead, what you could say is, hey, I'm so glad that you're here. Sorry. Hey, I'm so glad you're here. I'm going to teach you XYZ. Okay, so we just cut everything down and use an apostrophe. It's really, really simple thing to do. Really simple thing to do. The other thing is that you can just read your copy out loud before you post it up or upload it onto your website. Just read it out loud. You know, change things around so that it sounds like how you would naturally speak. Because if it sounds like if it sounds like writing, then you need to change it. You need to rewrite it. Relax your language, guys. This is really important. Just keep it conversational. So I think that's it for today, guys. So I've shared with you some mindset shifts that you should consider. And we've talked about, you know, why it's really important to allow your personality to come through. And then we've talked through some tips as well for shining your personality and being authentic online. I hope it's helped you today. If there are any questions, then let me know. You know, add your little questions. There's lots of comments here in the group. It's great to see that you've all been joining me, guys. Thank you for joining. You're great. And just know that you're unique. Yeah, I know that you have something special to share and that you have a unique message of yoga to share with people, okay? And you have your little characteristics and your little quirks that make you special and make you unique. So really tap into those things. You know, use the tips that I gave you today with the personality test and everything else. And I hope that you really let you shine in everything that you do online, because, you know, your students, they deserve to see the real you, okay? And I'm going to make a commitment to keep shining me, and I really encourage you to do the same. So I hope that's a deal with everybody. I'm going to sign off now. As always, if you're watching on Instagram, come over and join us in the community, in the Facebook community. We'd love to see you over there. There's over 8,000 yoga teachers in our private community. And thank you, everyone, for joining me today. It's so good to see so many of you here. Have a fantastic week, and I will see you all very, very soon. Lots of love. Bye.